Welcome into the Safeguard Podcast. I am Outnumbered.
Matt, can we please change the subject?
At Safeguard, we want to be versatile. We want to help in every way that we can and not just in one certain area or one certain product. We want to be holistic planners for you. A good agent or advisor should provide you good information regardless of whether they sell you something.
It is so frustrating that people are penalized for making a mistake when the government doesn't do anything to educate them.
Honestly, shouldn't it just be about helping people? Listen to this. 33% of men and 43% of women have no life insurance at all. That doesn't even count the people that don't have enough.
Insurance has the power to change people's lives.
You have got to be sure that you educate yourself before you make major decisions. Honestly, I couldn't imagine not being a Safeguard at this point. Hey guys, welcome back in. It is Outnumbered the podcast. We are Safeguard Insurance. I am Matt.
And I'm Stephanie.
We're the McKays, and we're excited to bring you some more information about Medicare. We talked last week about the Medicare basics, and kind of got into what is Medicare, how does it work, when can I sign up, who can be on it, who is on it. And most importantly, right now is the time that you can make the most significant changes to your Medicare year to year. And so that kind of gave you an idea, but we also want to get into, okay, how do we actually resolve some of your problems, some of the most common issues, things like that, making sure that you know that it is important to review right now because of these certain holes that are in Medicare. And we want to be sure that you know what your options are out there. So that's kind of what we're talking about today. First of all, we would be remiss not to mention that right now, as of today, it is time to look at your regular health insurance if you're under 65 and not on Medicare. Yeah. It is that time of year. Almost everyone in the country that doesn't have group insurance that is not on Medicare needs to look at your health insurance. There are major changes as always. They're increasing deductibles and all that. Some states you will lose your coverage, like Kentucky, for example, who is going from being on the federal marketplace to being on a state exchange program. So we want to be sure that you know. Check out your health insurance in general, but now, actually today is the day that we're finding out what the rates are ourselves. They don't ever tell us beforehand. So now is the time to ask your agent, if you have one, what should I do with this? I don't know. I had this before, whatever. Make sure you're talking to your agent. If you don't have one, find one, and we're happy to help you. We're in I think 17 states now and expanding. There were a couple of states the last few months that I thought we were going to have some business going in, and so we're expanding all the time. So we're happy to help you across the country. We can get any state set up and help you.
Yeah, it's a
get some
fairly
things
easy
taken care of.
process. So.
Yeah, so no issue there. If you don't feel like you have anybody, we're here for you. But it is that time. Check it out. Even if you think you're fine, make sure you are, because a lot of times people think they're great and they have some serious issues that they need to take care of. So that being said, we just kind of want to get into the details of Medicare and how to actually resolve some problems. Okay, so kind of getting into that, just a quick recap of original Medicare and the Medicare basics. And if you want to see the full details, go back and look at the other podcast. It's going to be in more detail there.
Episode 7.
Episode 7, right. This is 8. That was 7. So anyway, real quick, Medicare is a generally senior program over 65. Some people can be on it that are under 65 if they've been disabled for a couple years and qualify. Also, if they have ALS or end-stage renal disease and some other things like that, they may be on before they turn 65. People over 65, generally, almost everyone is going to be on Medicare. So, Medicare has a couple of basic parts. Medicare A is basically your hospital, your inpatient, hospice at the end of life, and your skilled nursing as well.
Yep.
Okay, so that's your inpatient. Okay, your hospital, etc. And that means you get admitted to a facility, not going to the ER and getting your boo-boo checked out and going home. This is getting admitted and staying the night.
Or multiple nights.
Or multiple nights or whatever. That is part A. We talked about it has a huge deductible, $1,484 for 2020.
For 2021.
2021,
Yeah.
whatever year we're in. I don't know.
They have not released any of the rates for 2022 yet, so all of the numbers that we give you right now are for 2021. We do not know what 2022 will be.
In hindsight, I didn't say exactly 1484 last time, so we wanted to be sure and say the exact number. But anyway, for 2022, we're not quite sure because no one knows for sure just yet what exactly those standards are going to be. But it's in the ballpark of $1,500 every time you go. So that being said, that kind of covers your inpatient. Skilled nursing. Skilled nursing is also in your Medicare A. And after 20 days of free coverage in Medicare, you now have to pay per day the next 80 days.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of people hear skilled nursing. They're thinking, oh, that's the nursing home. I get 100 days of nursing home. Not really. Sometimes if you have someone that can help you coordinate decently, you might be able to get some nursing home days in there. But generally, once they realize it's a long-term care scenario, that is no longer covered, and you're going to have to pay out of pocket or have some kind of plan. So we'll definitely be talking about the long-term care aspect today.
I want to kind of piggyback off of what he's saying and just explain a little more in detail. So Medicare does not cover custodial care, which is what we'll talk about a little bit later when we talk about long-term care.
Right.
Custodial care is normal daily life. What a skilled nursing facility is designed to do is not be long-term care. It's designed more in line with a rehab type stay. So what I normally tell my clients is say somebody's had a car wreck and they've broken some bones and they can't walk and they have to get back on their feet to walk again. That's going to be something that is going to be covered under a skilled nursing facility stay. It's not just I'm aging, I'm having trouble taking care of myself, I need someone to help me. Medicare does not cover that, okay?
Right.
The thing about a skilled nursing stay that some people miss is that in order for Medicare to cover it, they have to be in the hospital for 3 days prior to being admitted into the skilled nursing facility, or Medicare won't cover it at all. But we will talk a little bit later about custodial care, maybe possibly in a different episode depending upon time, about long-term care and how all of that works with Medicare.
Right, absolutely. Good point. And we'll definitely get into specific things that we can do to cover those holes. Now, getting into Part B, as in boy, okay? Again, there are issues with Part B. Okay, you have a couple $100 a year deductible. It's 203.
203 right now.
In 2021, we can pretty much guess that that's going to go up a little bit for 2022. It goes up slightly every year, but counted at a couple hundred or a little bit more deductible a year. And then everybody has probably heard Medicare pays 80, I pay 20. That's where the 20% comes in. So if you just have original Medicare A and B, you've got a huge deductible when you're admitted. If you go, say you get cancer or you have some kind of chronic treatment or you have a lot of issues, you're diabetic and you fall and you have to go to the ER, things like that, you can end up racking serious bills, and there is no maximum out of pocket to original
Yeah.
Medicare.
Yeah.
So we want to be sure if you're on original Medicare and you think you're fine, it doesn't matter how much money you have. You could have millions in the bank waiting for you, but if you rack up serious medical bills because you didn't cover some of these holes, you can lose it very quickly.
I would never recommend anybody,
Yeah.
regardless of how much or how little, from Medicaid all the way up to absolute billionaires. I would never recommend anybody not have some type of plan in
Right.
addition to their original Medicare, whether it's just a drug plan, whether it's a Medicare Advantage, which we'll talk about, whether it's Medicare Supplement and a drug plan, whatever combination. I would never recommend just original Medicare only with no plan to help shield from some of those expenses.
Absolutely. So that kind of gives you the basics of original Medicare. Now, there are multiple ways to cover those issues. Now, we kind of say there are two, and we covered this some in the earlier episodes, so I'll be quicker about getting through that. But basically, you have two general solutions to cover the holes in Medicare. First of all, is a Medicare Supplement, which the idea behind a Medicare Supplement, you might have heard Medigap, MedSup, Plan F, Plan G,
Yeah.
Plan N, whatever.
It's all the same thing. It's
Right,
all supplement.
that's all the same. So Medicare Supplement. You generally are going to pay a little bit more of a premium, but the idea is basically that you don't have as many copays or
Yeah.
little to no copays.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, most people take medicines. You need some kind of a drug plan. Part D, D is in drug, if you ever hear of Medicare Part D. D is for drug. And that helps cover your prescriptions. So you would have your Medicare card that covers as your primary. Then you would have a Medicare supplement that fills in the holes in A and B. And then you would get a drug plan that helps cover whatever medicines you take. We always encourage people to have some kind of drug coverage, unless they have drug coverage through group or VA or something like that, because it's not, you could possibly have a penalty later.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so we want to encourage you there. The second option that we view as viable option is having a Medicare Advantage to fill in the holes. And Medicare Advantage is actually Part C. It's an alternative to Medicare, but that doesn't mean that you cancel your Medicare out when you get a Medicare Advantage.
Yeah.
You actually need to still
You
have
have to
Part A
have
and Part B.
Absolutely.
Private health insurance companies come in, and basically whatever they say within their plan is what your benefits are. But the idea behind that Medicare Advantage is you pay copays.
Yeah.
You pay much less premium.
Yes.
And you are given a maximum out of pocket to where even if you have a horrible year, you're not going to pay any more than a certain amount. So whether that's $4,800, $7,550, whatever, you're at least guaranteed that you're not going to go over that amount
Yeah.
in expenses.
Yeah. One thing to note is in our previous episode, Matt had used the example of on Part B, the 20% charge. If you have a $100,000 surgery, that you are responsible for $20,000 of it. In a case like this, where somebody has a Medicare Advantage plan, you would be responsible for no more than your max out of pocket, and that's if you didn't have a copay for surgery, which you would. So you would spend significantly less money. If
We'll
you
both have an
had,
itch.
I know. So you would spend significantly less money on a Medicare Advantage plan than you would on original Medicare. And I do want to make this note because I know that this has been a point of concern with the Medicare Advantage plan. You cannot have less coverage than what original Medicare would already cover, and you cannot be charged more on a Medicare Advantage plan than what original Medicare would cover for you. I know that there have been people that have expressed concerns about that. But that is simply, you cannot lose coverage from what you would have with original Medicare. Honestly, Medicare Advantage adds coverage that Medicare does not cover,
Right.
such as dental, hearing, vision. Some of them have over the counter, some of them have transportation benefits. They add in things that Medicare alone does not cover. That's part of the advantage of an advantage.
Right. Sometimes even like a Fitbit,
Yeah.
grocery card.
Yeah, food cards. Yeah, healthy food cards. That's a new one. That's
Yeah, assistive devices.
Mhm.
Other things like acupuncture. Sometimes they'll cover things like that. In certain areas, not as common to cover some of those things, but Medicare Advantage is certainly something that if you're going to use a lot of the benefits, it's certainly something to consider because there may, otherwise you have to pay more premium to have some of those benefits or come up with it on your own. So definitely it's a viable option. And so that kind of helps us transition into, okay, obviously that's Medicare, but how do you actually resolve the problems that you have at home? I don't know. I don't make that much money. What about this? I don't like copays. How do I resolve that problem? What if I go to the hospital? What about my dental, vision, hearing? Right. So there are solutions within Medicare and also outside that we want to make sure to consider to resolve. So one big portion of the population that I know that we run into that a lot of times don't know what to do is people that are low income.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what is it, 15 to 20% or something on Medicare? What percentage is it? It's in the teens, isn't it?
Yeah, for low income, I think it's like 5% for full Medicaid or something.
Right.
Yeah, it's
So
much lower for
a
full
pretty
Medicaid.
decent amount of you sitting at home are going to be in this area where you may qualify for some kind of extra help from the government. A lot of people don't know that, but your income limits, if you're a single person, anybody under about 19,000 should at least attempt to apply. And that's in terms of annual income. And also if you have assets of less than 14,000. Now that doesn't count your house. If you have one house and you have no other like rental property or anything, the assets they're talking about is like a retirement, savings,
Pension.
things like that, and additional property. Okay, but if you feel like you're close or you're struggling, get on and apply for extra help through the government. We can help you with that. It's on SSA.gov, Medicare.gov. You can Google apply for extra help. And that can definitely provide a lot of help to a lot of people. We've done that ourselves. We've also helped people over the phone just say, hey, get on this and do it. It's not that complicated. It takes 5 or 10 minutes and it can save you thousands and thousands of dollars every year.
I believe that Social Security says that the benefit that it adds to you for qualifying for extra help is like over $3,500 a year is what they have discovered that it makes that big of a difference for people when they're able to get it. So that's a lot of money.
What it also does on the applications is it sends you on to state programs that might be able to help you as well. So number one, it takes care of the federal side, but it also opens you up to other options as well through the state, whether it's Medicaid, whether it's food stamps, all those kinds of programs are at least contacted and said, hey, this person may qualify for other programs. So I want to encourage you to pursue that if you feel like you're in that ballpark. If you're a couple, I guess a couple would be 24,000 in income and about 28 to 30,000 in assets. Okay, if you're close to those numbers, give it a shot.
I was gonna say if you're a little bit over but you're close, give it a try because for one, the worst that they can do is say no.
Exactly.
But if you don't qualify for the full level, there are partial levels available that they do sometimes grant to people where you could get, 50% extra help, which would reduce you quite significantly in your premiums and possibly deductibles on your like a drug plan, and then what you're paying at your pharmacy for your medications. So if you're close and you feel like you've got a chance, put in the application. The worst they could do is say, nope, you got too much income or too much assets. We're not going to do that. Now, if you make $50,000 in income and you've got $100,000 in assets, that's not going to stand a chance. They're not going to approve that. But if you're borderline, if you're close, they make exceptions in cases where they'll look at it and they'll say, okay, we'll give you some level of help. I always encourage people, if you think you're close, just try it. The worst they'll do is say no.
Right.
It doesn't cost you anything to apply at all. It's free to see if you qualify. And even if you've applied for other stuff before, like maybe food stamps or rental assistance or something like that, and you weren't granted that doesn't mean that you won't get extra help.
Absolutely.
It's different programs with different requirements. So don't think, oh, I've tried before and they just shot me down, so I'm not going to try again. Give it a shot. See what happens.
That's really good.
Yeah, if they say no, they say no, but at least you know that you've tried to make your situation better.
Amen, sister.
Yeah.
That's good. No, seriously, we've had so many people that we encourage to do it, and they would get a little bit of help, or they would get significantly more than we thought. And we had people that basically just slipped through the cracks that somehow had coverage that they really needed it. They had issues, and we couldn't figure out why they had it, but they had it.
Yeah.
And they can't come back and tell you that you did something wrong unless you're just bold-faced lying or something like that.
Which you shouldn't do.
That's their, right.
Don't lie on an application.
But I'm telling you, it saves a lot of people's bacon, so to speak. And so I definitely wanted to take a little bit of time and mention extra help. In addition to that, obviously you're thinking, okay, well, I take a ton of medicine. Okay, well that's simple, but also can be complicated.
I was like, it's simple.
Well, it's a simple solution in terms of we can look and plug in every one of your medicines at your pharmacy where you live and tell you
this is the plan that should work according to what information you just gave me for this next year. Okay, or at least there are 4 or 5 plans that you're going to be decent on here.
Yeah.
Okay, or hey, this medicine's not covered at all by your current plan. You might want to consider a different option.
Yeah.
So that's why talking to an agent or somebody that knows what the heck they're talking about. If you go to your pharmacist, be careful, because we've had people that go to a pharmacist, they take the advice, and then the pharmacist is either only looking out for themselves or they don't understand that they just made a silly mistake that an agent that's trained to do it would not have made.
I had an example of this. I had a local pharmacist change a gentleman to a drug plan only off of a Medicare Advantage plan. And the gentleman ended up in the hospital that year, came into me asking why his Medicare Advantage plan wasn't paying. And I looked him up and I'm like, well, this says you're not on a Medicare Advantage plan. Did you change your plans? And he said, well, the pharmacy put me in a drug plan. And I'm like, well, that pharmacy, by putting you in a drug plan, canceled out your application for your Medicare Advantage plan. And you don't have health benefits through a Medicare Advantage plan this year. And he incurred significantly more in expenses at the doctor and at the hospital that he had went to than he would have if he had had his Medicare Advantage. So the pharmacist thought that they were saving him money on his drugs, but they cost him significantly more by taking away his health benefits because they did not know what they were doing. They didn't know, and you cannot have a Medicare Advantage plan and a standalone drug plan at the same time. And I'm also going to go ahead and put this out. You cannot have a Medicare Advantage plan and a Medicare Supplement at the same time. Now, you can have a Medicare Advantage plan that has prescription drugs embedded in it.
Right.
It's called a Medicare Advantage with prescription drugs, MAPD. But you cannot have a Medicare Advantage and a standalone drug plan. You can't mix them.
Right.
So that pharmacist was trying to help this guy, But because he was not trained and didn't know anything about health insurance plans, he took this guy's health insurance away for an entire year.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not fix it again until the following annual enrollment period. And so he went a full year without health benefits.
So here's the thing too, is if you are on just a drug plan and original Medicare,
And you don't get extra help, or even if you do, those drug plans cost a premium of some kind. It's at least $6 and something, but usually it's over 10. Usually it's at least 13 to
The
40.
average, the national average is 3306.
Okay, so 3306 is your average. They obviously range. Drug plans range from 6 to
150.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
There's a
it
couple
doesn't-
really bad ones.
yeah. So here's the question. Number one,
is if you're only on a few medicines, why pay $60 a month for your coverage unless you actually save that amount of money in copays or deductibles or something like that. Also, if you're paying that much for your drug plan and you don't have other coverage like a supplement or something else to take care of things, what if you paid the same premium or less and had drug coverage and hospital and doctor assistance on your Medicare?
Yeah.
That is something to consider if you're only on a prescription drug plan. Why
Yeah.
pay $15 for a drug plan when you can pay $15 for a Medicare Advantage with a drug plan?
Yeah.
So you take care of two birds with one stone. Don't add any expenses to your current budget.
And you're protected from all the holes in Medicare, and
Right.
you have a cap on how much you can pay, whereas original Medicare does not.
Right. So you might look at Medicare Advantage and say, okay, there are issues in this Medicare Advantage. I don't have everything covered. I could pay $6,700. I could pay $5,000 this year. Whatever. Okay, there are ways to cover that. One very common way to do it is a hospital indemnity plan. Okay, when you look at the Medicare Advantage, what is the one issue in a lot of those plans that you could really rack up some serious bills? Staying in a hospital, right? And you pay $360 a day, $290 a day, whatever, $395.
Yeah, it's dependent upon the plan.
Right, it does. Every plan has a little bit different, but generally you're going to pay, if you stay for a week, let's say 8 days, because some plans have an 8-day structure where you pay for days 1 to 8. So say you stay 8 days in a hospital and you're on a Medicare Advantage, the very minimum that you're going to pay in 2022 is $750, and that's if you pay over $100 a month, and that's in certain areas. Some of them don't even have that option.
Yeah.
If any other plan, the minimum that you would pay is $1,600, and most of them you're getting into the $2,000 to $2,500 range in terms of possible out of pocket from that one event. So how do you cover that issue? Well, a hospital indemnity plan reimburses you for whatever benefit that you've paid for, and they send you a check to cover either cover the difference in your copay, or if you get $300 a day on the hospital indemnity, you get a $300 per day check sent back to you in the mail to pay for those expenses.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a great way to cover some issues. Another way is if you're fairly healthy, or even if you're not, and you don't anticipate any chronic conditions or anything like that, what is maybe the number one way that you're gonna have an issue that you need to cover? If you have an accident, so look at accident coverage. Okay, another one will be, what if I get cancer? What if I have a heart attack? What if I have a stroke? What if I have kidney failure or some kind of organ transplant or something like that? Well, there are critical illness policies that you can purchase. Okay, Medicare Advantage sometimes covers dental, vision, hearing. If you go and obviously what I would do is compare the benefits to what a standalone plan would do. A lot of times you can get your dental, vision, hearing covered for less than $50 a month.
Yeah.
You know, if you're just concerned about dental, you know, sometimes you get into the 20s. Your vision alone, you know, can be 8 to 20. Fairly affordable premiums to resolve some of these issues. Some of these issues. Some of the Medicare supplements even have some benefits included, but generally, if you went the Medicare supplement route, you're not going to have much dental, vision, and hearing, if any, included.
Usually none.
Right. Yeah. Usually none. There's a very rare exception. So maybe one or two in each market that might have some hearing and vision, maybe some dental, but it's not very common. So these are some of these issues. The other one that we definitely should bring up, and we said we would come back to, was long-term care.
Yeah.
First of all, you maybe have 100 days, sort of, to cover your long-term care. A lot of long-term care policies will be set up to activate after 100 days because of the benefit in Medicare of that 100-day skilled nursing
facility.
right? But in reality, you may not even have those 100 days that you can actually count on for sure, depending on your situation.
Yeah.
So if you have any kind of assets at all, or you care anything about your treatment later in life, and you want to have options, looking at some kind of long-term care plan, whether it is by making sure that your assets pay for it, which, by the way, if it's anything less than a couple $1,000,000, you could lose everything if you just plan on paying for it with your assets.
Yeah.
Okay?
You could run through that.
I promise you I've seen that. I know that's crazy. It's true. $2 million at least. And then you pretty much could take care of it as long as you don't just blow your money straight away. But it's possible. Anything under that, and you at least need to look at what your plan might be. Whether it's some kind of long-term care policy, long-term care with life insurance, long-term care in an investment, whatever, making sure that you've got those ideas in place, because it can save your bacon. It can allow you to leave a legacy that you actually want to leave. We just had a conversation with Paula, our partner, about somebody frustrated with the nursing home, how they're going to have to go on Medicaid, and she spent all this time making all this money, and she's going to have to throw it away.
She had to spend it all down to get rid of it.
Right.
So she can,
And it's because there wasn't any long-term care plan put in place years ago. And that's how we can bring value to you now, instead of you having to deal with that later.
Yeah.
The other couple things that I would say is Medicare is not in a bubble. And if you have anything that you think we missed, but Medicare is not in a bubble, okay? Of course, you take care of your health insurance concerns, but you have other things as well. And so we'd be remiss not to mention, with Medicare concerns comes life insurance. What if you have major health insurance bills? What if you plan on having a Medicare Advantage and you rack up $20,000 or $30,000 in bills over the end of your days? Or
several years to do that.
Yeah, what if you have long-term care expenses that you don't have another way to reimburse? Look at your life insurance. Look at your retirement to make sure that you can pay for all these premiums, co-pays, and deductibles. And make sure that you have a plan as early as possible so you don't run into, oh my gosh, my budget is so big because of all these daggum health insurance and life insurance and whatever insurance premiums. I'm insurance poor. How many people do we hear say that? Because of a lack of prior planning or efficient planning in retirement. And so, big picture, make sure that you take care of those concerns.
Absolutely. That's good.
Anything else that you think we missed?
Not that we missed, but I just want to run down real quick, kind of a pros and cons
I know I talked
to
a lot today. You go ahead.
I want to do a pros and cons to a supplement versus an advantage, because I'd say my number one thing when I'm having a one-on-one with somebody about Medicare and their options is trying
Which
to make
one
the
should I
decision
choose?
of which one
Yeah.
to choose. Yeah.
Okay.
So a pro for a supplement is it's flexible. What I tell people is you can get the quality of care that you need and that you want. Okay. If you plan on traveling and going, away
I
from
forgot
your hometown or your home state, a supplement is flexible in that it does not require a network of doctors. You don't have to worry about being in and out of network or anything like that. You just have to worry about whether the doctor accepts Medicare assignment. Well, 93% of the doctors in the United States accept Medicare assignment, so that's generally not something you have to worry about. The only one that I've, heard of that doesn't take it is generally going to be something like, say, plastic surgery. That makes sense because Medicare does not cover plastic surgery, so there's no reason that a plastic surgeon that does elective surgeries would need to cover Medicare or
Right.
accept Medicare. So
Yeah,
generally,
Yeah,
they're going to be
know,
accepted.
Yeah, I have some family in medicine, and most doctors pretty much have to accept
Yeah.
Medicare because you're going to be a majority of their
Mhm.
business. They
Yeah,
can't
that's
turn away.
The
you know,
largest,
the
the
lar-
largest group of people.
Yeah, it's the largest population
Yeah.
with the most issues. They can't
Yeah, like,
generally turn away Medicare.
it's not a smart move on a doctor's part to not accept a Medicare
So if your supplement
recipient.
is
Yeah.
covered by 93% of doctors, you're pretty much able to go wherever
Wherever
you
you
need to
yeah.
within reason.
So another pro for a supplement would be that in addition to being able to go where you need to, is that you have, for the most part, a fixed amount that you can budget. Now, one thing with a supplement is they do go up yearly, so you would expect rate increases. But for the most part, you're going to know how much your supplement is, and you're not going to necessarily, depending upon what type of Medicare supplement you choose, you're not going to necessarily expect bills. Okay, so it's easier to budget for a Medicare supplement. A con of a Medicare supplement would be that you do get rate increases. They are based on cost of living, and they're based on age increases. So you will expect yearly to get one, possibly two, depending upon what company, in rate increases each year. Whereas with the Medicare Advantage, your premium is a flat premium and it doesn't change. And it's not dependent upon your age, it's not dependent upon your gender, it's not dependent upon your health conditions, none of that. That leads me to another con of a Medicare supplement is if you do not enroll when you're first eligible, when you turn 65, or when you're first eligible for losing employer coverage, which is that special enrollment period we talked about in episode 7. You can listen to that if you would like. Then you would be subjected to underwriting. And if you have health conditions, your Medicare supplement can decline you. If you're looking to take a Medicare supplement, you don't have one, or you're looking to switch to a different one. A pro of a Medicare supplement is that it is considered guaranteed renewable. So when you get that coverage, they cannot terminate that coverage on you, like say you develop health conditions later on down the road. They cannot take your coverage. As long as you continue to make your premiums, they have to keep you on the plan.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the pros of an Advantage are like I mentioned a little bit earlier. You can get some add-ons that are not covered under a supplement, are not covered under a Medicare, original Medicare, like dental, hearing, vision, over-the-counter, healthy food cards. Some of those things that are not covered anywhere else, you can get through a Medicare Advantage plan. It covers your drug plan with it for a low affordable premium in most cases. Significantly lower than what a supplement costs as far as premiums go. It is a little bit harder to budget if you have a year that you are using it because it's dependent upon what services you're having rendered, depends upon how much it's going to cost. Sometimes that's hard if you don't know what services you're going to need in a year. So that's one thing that can make it a little more difficult. Also, Medicare Advantage plan is going to have a network, whether you choose an HMO versus a PPO, which we'll break down that in a different episode. But you may or may not have out of network benefits if you're on an HMO plan. So you do have a network, and depending upon what kind you choose, it can make it harder to seek that quality of care that you're needing. Certain plans, like an HMO, you would need a referral to see a specialist. And you're in the position where if you don't necessarily agree with your specialist's, diagnosis or that what they've come to the conclusion of, it can be harder to get a second opinion. Whereas on a supplement, if you don't like what the doctor has to say and you want to go see a different doctor, no questions asked, you go see who you feel like you need to see. So that's just some of the differences, some of the pros and cons. It comes down to flexibility. Medicare Advantage, comes down to convenience. It's all in one. It's one card instead of 3 cards that you have to keep up with. It's much easier to use and administer for a lot of people, but you do have network thoughts and stuff like that you have to take in. You have co-pays that you could possibly get an unexpected bill that you weren't expecting. So if you don't have the money to pay for it, that could be a shock to the system.
Right.
So just different things to consider.
So to summarize that, I think
it's not a stereotype thing, but I would say the types of people that can typically end up, and I'm not saying every person is absolutely different, and
Absolutely.
it always depends on your preferences and your perspective. But I'd say generally your supplement people are more kind of middle class that have decent income that can afford $100 to $300 a month to set aside to make sure that they're taken care of.
But they don't want the bills.
Right, because if they have a massive bill, it really would hurt. But they also, can afford to go ahead and pay that premium. So it's easy to budget. A lot of people that are upper income will say, well, I can afford $7,500, no problem. I can do that. If I have a bad year, I can deal with that, and I'll just pay some bills and I'll figure it out as I go. And then also your lower income people may say, gosh, I physically can't afford to pay $200 a month. I can't pay $100 whatever a month. And we've had people say that too, and they're just like, I'm just going to have to risk it, and I'll figure out how to pay the payments. So that it's not a cookie cutter thing where you make $20,000 a year, you probably need a Medicare Advantage, or you make $100, so maybe you want a supplement, but you might be okay with this, or you make $50 or whatever.
It's based upon your needs.
Yeah.
It's based upon how often you go to the doctor, how often you're needing services. There's so much that goes into that decision besides just
and some people
how much
look
you
at
wanna spend.
and some people, it also depends on your health conditions. If you're turning 65 and you're on 15 medicines, you really probably don't want to get on Medicare Advantage if you got all these chronic conditions that you have to go to the doctor all the time and you have these issues. If you're on 1 or 2 or none, maybe you consider Medicare Advantage for a little bit, save the money, and transition over a little later. You just want to be careful about, getting into Medicare Advantage and not being able to get it later. But, a lot of people save a lot of money on Medicare Advantage, and statistics say Medicare Advantage saves just a little bit more than a typical Medicare Supplement
The
client.
statistic is less than 10% of people will ever max out a Medicare Advantage plan. So based off that, statistically, you're never going to go through the full max out of pocket on the plan.
But on a Medicare supplement, you're always maxed out.
Yeah, you're
Right?
guaranteed
You're gonna
because
pay
you're going to pay whatever the supplements are.
Basically your
minimum.
maximum
Yeah.
for the most part.
So it can be a hard decision, but it's very dependent upon the individual, dependent upon your needs and your comfort, how you want to be seen by your doctors. I had a woman that was on a Medicare supplement, and she doesn't go to the doctor. She just doesn't. And she's like, I'm tired of paying $100-something a month. I don't go to the doctor. I'm not using this.
Yep.
I feel like I'm wasting my money. And she went to a Medicare Advantage, and she's loved it.
Yep.
And she's saving money, and she's been on it for 4 or 5 years now.
I guess so.
I think it's about 4 or 5 years now. And she's never looked back at the supplement, never, but I also had, the other side where people, are on a Medicare Advantage and later on wish that they had a supplement or so. So it's totally dependent upon the individual and what you want to do with your health and how you want to be treated. And it can also be dependent upon what your doctor that you're currently seeing accepts too.
That's true.
So,
Yeah, that could be a factor.
if they
Especially in more populated areas.
Yeah, and that is a very good point. That's what I was about to say. It's dependent upon where
California,
you live.
Florida, Nashville,
Yeah.
New York.
Certain areas have better benefits than others, and we're one of those areas.
Houston is another one that's big.
We don't have as much benefits as, like, say, Louisville has, because they're a bigger city than we are. But we're starting to get to those bigger benefits
We're
as we
coming
go
for you,
along.
Louisville.
We're coming up through the ranks in the state of Kentucky. And so it just is dependent upon a lot of factors, and it's an individual decision, and what's right for you might not be right for the person sitting next to you. So don't have a friend and listen to them and, oh, I'm on this and this is great for me. That doesn't mean it's going to be great for you. It's an individual thing. So that's all I've got for today.
All right, yeah, we went a little longer, but that's okay because obviously you need to know the details more of how to actually handle things than just, oh, this is what this is. How do you apply it? And that's what we wanted to do. And so as we gave you all this information, you may be thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? You're paralyzed with fear. And that's why the wise words of today is don't let fear conquer your opportunity. You have an opportunity right now from October 15th to December 7th. You have an opportunity if you're not on Medicare from November 1st to December 15th or January 15th, depending on where you are. Okay? Do not waste this opportunity because you're afraid of trying to deal with it or trying to figure out all the details. Just work through it with your people. And make sure that what you're doing is making sense, because you can throw away thousands of dollars every year by not approaching this thing that creates so much fear.
Yeah.
So let someone in, let someone help you if you need the help, and be willing to admit that you might need some assistance.
Yeah.
But we're here for you. We're happy to help. Next week we're going to get into Obamacare, ACA, Marketplace, whatever you want to call it.
State-based market.
State-based marketing in Kentucky. There are other areas that have state-based as well. But we're excited to be here for you, and we hope you're doing well. Follow us, like us, subscribe, retweet, hashtag, all that. Subscribe to the YouTube. www.safeguardky.com. Phone number 270-904-6070. We're here for you. We love you. And God bless.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.